The approved document R form part of the building regulations. So like all the other building regulations, they set out requirements that need to be complied with for building applications and for anything that requires building approval. These particular regulations aim to achieve accessibility in the environments so that buildings and premises can be accessible for people with disabilities.
And can you give us some examples of what a new build would have to meet in order to comply with the new regulations?
A new build would have to be entirely accessible and comply with a Part R. We're looking at things like, for example, in terms of the entrance to a building, to make sure that people with physical disability or some kind of impairment would be able to gain access to the building. So we have to ensure that there are ramps and there are handrails. We need to ensure that we provide for people with visual impairment, so that there has to be colour contrast. Those are only examples. We look at not only entrance to the building, but say, for example, toilets. We need to make sure that people with disabilities can be able to use them. We need to ensure that there are sufficient parking spaces available for people with disabilities. All these examples are contained in the guidance. We've also, the Ministry for Equality and the Building Control section of the Department for Town Planning and Building Control have prepared an information booklet which summarises examples and what needs to be done.
And these regulations will have to apply to both private and government buildings?
Yes, these regulations apply to everything and everything that requires building control insofar as government projects. We have been applying these rules by way of government policy since we took office.
And you've had to train up quite a few people in the technical departments in order to push out these regulations.
We have delivered extensive training because it was important for us to ensure that we understood enough to get the regulations correct and ensure that all the professionals within the public service were aware of their duties to be able to discharge them properly and of course enforce them properly. And while we've been offering training to people in the public sector, we've also offered training in our Equality Means Business strand of seminars to the private sector. All our training has been very successful. We've always had very positive feedback on it, and over the course of almost 4 years we've trained a couple of hundred people, so that's quite significant.